can fighters stall more in the Apex? That's a question. In fact, Jamie, you can do one of those poll things, can't you, on this? Yeah. Do we get more stalling in the Apex? And I'm going to tell you why I think this is the case. This is my theory. If you're in an arena with 16,000 people and you're 150 rows back and you've had a couple of beers and the fight's slowed down and these guys are dancing around and staring at one another and you're like, at some point you might just decide you're going to go, boo! And then a few people around you might start to join in an arena where you've got 15,000 people, right? Because you can kind of blend in. And although a few people around you might turn and go, this guy's being a dick, he's not appreciating the athletic ability and skill and risk that these guys are taking to step into this octagon and entertain us tonight. He's had a few beers and he's being obnoxious. In an arena, that happens. And people will go, whoa. Like, people are going to be far more self-conscious at the Apex where there's like 300 people there. Think about that. I think we get a lot less booing and jeering from the crowd at the Apex because it's a smaller crowd in a smaller space. I think in a bigger arena, even if it's subconscious, I feel like the referees are going to be prompted a bit more by the crowd to separate the fighters and to break stalling positions. So I'm like, that's something else I'd be interested in knowing. You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference in kind of holding and stalling times? Like how long does a referee let a fight go in the Apex before they separate it compared to 20,000 seats at a pay-per-view? Because, like, you're just not going to get as many people being kind of rowdy in the Apex. I don't think they serve as much alcohol, and it's a smaller space. Like, what we learned from Fight Island, you can't even yell at the referees in those kind of situations. You know what I mean? Because everyone can hear you. So, this is why I feel like the Apex is, like, at certain times, I think it's been a benefit, especially during the pandemic, especially coming out of that, because there were so many people that they were desperate to get back in there that it was just like, just lock me in a garage with this guy and let's go, because they were just desperate to compete. But now I feel like people are either like, well, I'm going to be on the Apex card or I'm going to be in a big arena. And I think fights in a big arena, there's a different kind of intensity to them. And I'm not sure whether I prefer one over the other, to be honest, because I do think they are different. But certainly the Fight Island experience was very very sterile. That's a good way of putting it, because there's not the noise pollution there. And like Fight Island, that the original arena that they were using in Fight Island, you've got to imagine there were probably about maybe 100 people in the room. Like, there were very, very few. So there's even a lot more people at the Apex, and it's still quite a quiet space. I do wonder whether the fights are, I do wonder whether the crowd noise and the jeering, if the fights start to slow down, or the waving of the lights. That's a thing now. I don't know where that came from. I wonder if fights do tend to get to slow down at the Apex. Even striking outputs, they could probably check that, couldn't they? Like striking outputs from one card to the next.
People want to put more of a show on the bigger card.
Yeah, a good argument towards that, and I, of course, all fighters are different, and I think some fighters will respond differently in different circumstances. But like the very first event where there was no crowd, which was, what was that, 2020? Yeah. So it was Brasilia. It was the last fight that Veronica fought on before she took the break, and the main event of that was Johnny Walker against Nikita Krylov. And it was like all the way through fight week, it was like, we're going to have a crowd, we're going to have half a crowd, we're going to have no crowd, we're going to have a few people here and a few people there. It was like, is the show going on? Like all the way through fight week, the ground was shifting. And all the way through fight week, I thought to myself, this doesn't matter at all to Nikita Krylov, because he's just going to come in and do what he does. But then on the other side, you've got Johnny Walker, and Johnny Walker is a performer, especially at this point where he was all flying knockouts and stuff. Like, it was really odd watching him walk out into an arena. It didn't even have any chairs in it. It was like the walkway wasn't even like defined. It was just like walking out into like an aircraft hangar. It was a really odd vibe. And I always thought to myself, I wonder if that fight would have looked at all different had it have been in an arena with a crowd, because Johnny Walker would have probably gone flying at him and potentially been a lot more dangerous. I do wonder.